guys, it's my first day on the channel. But I wanted to come on here and start talking about books because I've been writing about the books that I read, and I've been talking to a lot of authors and getting a lot of ARCs, and I've had my book blog on Instagram for about 2 years now, and I thought that maybe it would be time to venture out into the world of YouTube. So here we are, and we're going to start book vlogging as well. So my little tag name is Bambi Reads Books, and my name's Amanda. So I'm going to start out by talking about the 5 books and audiobooks that I read this last week, what I plan to read this week, and I am also taking part in a NetGalley, a challenge, I guess, from Traveling Pages Tours, and they do a lot of tours where they send you books and you review them on a certain day to kind of promote books for authors. So they are doing a kind of catch up your NetGalley read before the end of the year. So I'll be sharing kind of my progress on that and my thoughts on that, and then on what books I hope to read. Up until this point, I've been a very sporadic reader, so that means that I have piles of books and I just read them and I try and hurry through it, and then I'll go a couple days where I don't read because I overdid it. So I'm trying to get in more of a regular habit, just kind of put it in different places in my life, like if I'm waiting for a bus for a kid, or I don't have anything to do that morning. I've been really good about listening to audiobooks while I'm cleaning, so most of the books that I did read were audiobooks, but we still count them. I still count them. So I think that setting a TBR and kind of holding myself accountable and coming on and talking about them is going to encourage me to be more consistent and maybe make my TBR quite a bit smaller, because it got out of control. I got really excited in the beginning. So, I'm a little embarrassed, but not really that embarrassed, because it's a lot. They're really good books. We'll get through it. It'll be okay. I learned my lesson, but I probably didn't. The first audiobook that I listened to this week was called Christmas at Copper Mountain by Jane Porter, and it was a very mini story. I think I don't think it was even 5 hours long, but it was a cute little mini romance, very innocent with the spicy scene, so I would give it a 2 on the spice, but I did rate the book at a 4. I did enjoy the story. It was about 2 people who are kind of broken, something sad happened to both of them, and a surprise visit from someone's kids kind of sets everybody off, and then it tumbles into this little innocent wholesome romance, and there may or may not be some spice in there, but it was a cute little story, and I gave it 4 stars. I don't think that it was high on spice, but for everybody who likes kind of the more conservative or more reserved romances, that's for you. Merry Christmas. It was cute. Another Christmas romance audiobook that I read was Crazy for You by Heather Lee Bell, and I gave this one 2 stars, and it was just a really rough start. There was just kind of a timeline of things that were happening, but there wasn't a lot of description or setup for the story. Just a lot of things were this happened, this happened, this happened, and then now we're here, and now starts the spicy romance, and it's but none of that made too much sense to me. It was just very vague, which I understand, set the story up, but set the story up. Give me some meat of where the story starts. So some of it was just a little bit too, unrealistic for me to enjoy. But, if you just want, a light, happy little romance for Christmas, it was a cute story. It was good for that. So I did give it 2 stars. I didn't find it too spicy, maybe a 1 on the spice. It was very innocent. But, Merry Christmas. It's still a cute story, so get that one on Audible, and that was by Heather Lee Bell. The third audiobook that I listened to was Back in the Burbs by Tracy Wolff and Avery Flynn. I gave this one 4 stars. It was a really cute romance, but I didn't expect it to be. In the beginning, something completely just wreckingly, life-changing, traumatizing thing happens to the main character, and then she happens to inherit a house, there's lots of little games where you to get to go and fix up the house. Well, this shows that it's not a game, it's not so fun, and she has some really weird family dynamic going on with her parents. They just have a very unhealthy relationship, and they shove it off on her all the time, and pretty much they're blaming her for this awful thing that happened to her in her relationship, and they're just go and fix it, and she's what do you mean, what are you talking about? So she ends up moving to this house, this place with all these other people in the middle of her life-shattering moment, and then finds out that there's a second betrayal just on top of it. And she's just supposed to accept it, right? And just take it and just move on. I don't need anything. And instead she gets angry and she's no, not happening. Well, as the story plays out, there's just some really man figures coming in all around, like they do in romance books. You know, they tend to do this where they just come in and they're like, all these options. We've talked about this before on our Instagram. But having said that, it's really interesting how the author really played out like more realistic aspects of what happens when you have like a long-term relationship fail or a family breakup, or you know, like just a financial crisis or a big betrayal in your life. Like, how do you really react? Like, they always show people like getting on with life and like the glow up, but like she really does show more of like that even when you get into a healthy relationship later, how it can really affect that new person and things that you may be doing as like a protective thing that you had to do in your old situation that now is harming your new situation. And you may push people away that maybe you don't want to push away. So there's like a lot of hot and cold, a lot of like blow ups, a lot of like just little angry tantrum moments, a lot of like, oh my gosh, what did I do? You know, I really enjoyed how the author gave us insight on what the characters were thinking and like really gave us details on how they interacted. And it was just really good overall. I did think that it was a bit rocky. It took me about 5 or 6 chapters to really get into what was happening. So it was a little bit of a rocky start, but like after that, like we were good to go. It was a great story. And there is the second book is called Running for the Hills, and it comes out August 22nd of 2023, so next year. And I do not have a copy of the ARC. I don't know if I'll be able to get one. I'll let you guys know if I do get one. I won't be able to share much about it, but if I get it, I will let you know. And I'm pretty excited. Like, I love it when like we find a good book and then like there's more. When there's more to the story, you're like, yes, I knew there was more. The last audiobook was the 4th audiobook, and it was Rose Petal Graves, which is the first of 5 in a series. It is a paranormal fantasy about fairies and fairy hunters and dust magic and love triangles and arranged marriages and like fairy realms, all kinds of things going on. And so in the beginning, we start out with our main character. Her mom owns a funeral home. She grew up there. I believe she was away at school. I do believe that's what happened. And her mom ends up passing away, and she's like, that doesn't make sense. And she digs, and she ends up finding a bunch of things. A bunch of interesting people come and like meet her and start telling her things. It had a bit of a slow start. Like, you have to pay attention in the beginning. But about, I would say like a quarter or a third of the way through, like it starts making sense and it starts getting exciting because you start really connecting with all of these different characters that were kind of thrown at you in the beginning. It starts making more sense. But some of her decisions, you're just like, what you doing? And like, it is sad. It has some sad parts. But, you know, it has a lot of like cool parts too. That's why it's a paranormal fantasy. We would expect that. So it is 1 out of the 5. I have not read any of the other ones. I do intend to add them to my TBR. This one was on Audible, but I would be willing to like read a physical copy of one too. It's on my TBR, and we will probably get it to it more like next year. But anybody who likes fairies, fantasy, love triangles, it did have kind of like a younger theme to it. I wouldn't say they were like teenagers, but like 18 to like 25-ish kind of area. So that would be kind of the age range I would expect, like maybe early 20s. Not that we all don't enjoy it. It's just that seems like the age of the characters in the book. The one physical book that I read was More After the Break by Jen Maxfield. It is a news reporter, Jen Maxfield, who did a bunch of news stories, went back and kind of asked the people who were involved or the victims or the people who were reported for whatever they were reported for, and asked them like, hey, what happened after everybody left? What happened from that time to this time? And kind of did a follow-up of their lives. It was pretty interesting to read. I did kind of find it more of like a study read. It would be very nostalgic for some people, I'm sure, but I just kind of felt more like I was just like reading a newspaper. But that is the whole point. It is a news story follow-up, so it would feel like that. So it wasn't so much for me, but for people who like would like to know what happened back then, or were curious, or who like watch the news a lot and would remember those stories, it would be perfect for someone like that. So if you're into news stories and you like follow-up stories, perfect for you. More After the Break by Jen Maxfield. So I did join the NetGalley like how many NetGalley things can you clear and up your percentage. We're supposed to have an 80% on NetGalley. I have an 18% on NetGalley. NetGalley is where we go and get ARCs approved through like publishers. You can request titles and they look at like your social and like your reading percentage and they say, yes, we think that you will be a good person to review our book for us. And then they send you like a digital copy or sometimes a hard copy, but usually digital. I did not know I was going to get approved for so many books. So I put in for a bunch thinking I wouldn't get a bunch, and I got a bunch. So here I am with a huge TBR on NetGalley, and I missed dates of publishing, but I am dedicated to finishing what I committed to. I will be late, but I will be there. So we are doing this hosted by Traveling Pages Tour. I've done a few book tours through them, quite a few, and it's really fun. They're very organized. They're really nice to work with. I do enjoy it. So far I managed to get 2 of them checked off for the first week, which was Rose Petal Grapes and More After the Break. Those were both on my NetGalley list. So as of now, I have 157 books that I need to read on my NetGalley. I told you it was out of control. It was out of control. I've read 29 of them, like total, all ever, 29 of them. And I am at 18%, and I'm supposed to be at 80. So, you know. Not there. I'm not there. 2022 titles. So books that are still coming out in 2022 that have publishing dates, so they're not on the shelves yet. I have 7 for November and 3 for December, and the rest are either for earlier this year or they're for 2023. So I would like to get those 10 books taken care of between November and December so I can go into 2023 at least not dragging another 2 months worth of unread ARCs. I'd rather not be dragging 2 months worth of ARCs into the 2023 year because I already have a long enough backlist and I'm gonna do it. But I just didn't understand what was happening. I didn't know what I committed to. So my goal would be to be at 30% by the end of 2022. I know it's not 80, but 30% seems like a good realistic goal to me. So one of the TBRs, the to be reads on my list, the books, is Apes of the Wildfire by Justin Morgan. Apes of the Wildfire by Justin Morgan. A heartbreaking tale of the worst disaster ever faced by Bonian orangutans. Animal Eyes. And this is the 3rd book in Animal Eyes series, but it does say that you could read it as a standalone. I read Tsunami Dolphins a while back. That was one of the first books that I read when I started doing the book blog thing. I don't think I ever wrote a review, so it has to be a reread. But I do know that I did enjoy it a lot, and I even said that. I was like, I remember that. We're not talking about that right now, but we should talk about it later. So I'm excited to read Apes of the Wildfire. Justin Morgan sent me a copy through Instagram, so let's read the little intro that they have. The synopsis is posted on Amazon for Apes of the Wildfire, and it says November 18th, 2022 is the date that we can have it, the official published copy of Apes of the Wildfire by Justin Morgan. Here is the synopsis. With war and wildfire ravaging Borneo's rainforest, can a pair of orangutan brothers overcome a bitter rivalry before the flames overcome them? Amid a blistering drought, a bullying brute vies for control of the forest. Brother Bella and Akane, certain for their exiled father, can restore order to the canopy, scour the trees with a clever plan to coax him home. But little do they know their time with the mysterious Dama will see a bitter rift open, and the course of their lives forever altered. As an unstoppable inferno rages across Borneo, and with the region's people locked in a fierce ethnic conflict, the stage is set for an epic clash, and one which must surely end in tragedy. Set during the devastating 1997 Asian forest fire, the tales of love and loss offer a unique and heartbreaking insight to the lives of closest and most vulnerable relatives. So that sounds like it's going to be just, how could it not be suspenseful and keep your attention? I don't know. I've only read the other book, like I said, and that book I had no trouble staying attention to. I had more of a problem of I didn't want to go to bed, and I read all night and then woke up with a headache, and I was like, how old am I? Old enough to know better, and I still did it. So I don't expect any less from Apes of the Wildfire. I read a lot of Liz Hamilton. I met her on Instagram, and she was like, would you like to read my book? And I was like, yes. And then I was like, I want to read this book, and I want to read this book, and they were all her books. And then she started sending me her books, and here we are. We're friends, I think. Like Instagram book friends. I think we are. Maybe no, but maybe yes. I think we are. So The Final Storm is on my TBR to be read for this next week. And it is the second book to Liz Hamilton's The Third Storm was the first one. And I don't know if you watched my video on that, but just absolute chaos, absolute chaos. End of the world is flooding. You've got 2 kids. You're never had kids before, but have these. Get on this boat with your crazy ex and then like throw this hot guy at you and then like maybe baby, like, and then it's just now what could happen. Like now we have to read The Final Storm to know what could happen because Liz Hamilton writes dystopians with spice and like, so how could you not love it? How? Some people. I have another Liz Hamilton book on my TBR as well, The Discovery's End. It is the follow-up to the Discovery Center, and the Discovery Center is where everybody lives in a dome, and you can only be married for 7 years, and like just this tragic, awful, crazy stuff happens, but everybody who lives in the dome doesn't know, and like, so now the center is going to end, they're gonna bring down the dome. But I don't know if that's what happens. I'm assuming. I'm judging the book by its cover, and I need to read it because, honestly, I can't stop thinking about that. Like, that is so crazy to me. That is crazy. What if... No, we don't. But, like, could you imagine? Like, I don't want to. I don't want to. I have Mrs. Claus and the Evil Elves by Liz Ireland. And it is number 3 of 3 in a series that she wrote. And this one... I've read, I think I want to say 3 or 4 chapters so far, and it's where a modern day like person is married to Santa Claus, and she has her friend come and visit her, and they end up flying her out to the North Pole with reindeer, and then they get there and she's like, the reindeer are on strike, and that's as far as I got. And her friend's just like, you are really like into cosplay, like she hasn't got it yet, or they think that maybe she's in shock from like the reindeer and the sleigh ride, like she's still not getting it, and that's kind of like where I stopped. So I'm really excited to read that one. It's really funny. It had me laughing a little bit, so that's a cute one. And that is Mrs. Claus and the Evil Elves by Liz Ireland, and it's 3 of 3. So if this one's cute, I'm probably going to go back and read the other 2 because my Christmas TBR is kind of small. The current audiobook I have for NetGalley is This Vicious Grace, and it is by Emily Thiede, Thiede, and it is a novel, 1 of 2 it says. I did not know there was a second one. I have just started it, I believe. I'm not even a third of the way through yet. So far, it's a younger girl, and she is, I'm not quite sure how the setup goes, but she's marrying somebody, but it's not like a marriage, it's like a bond, and something about her is supposed to make their magic stronger, but for some reason, every time she touches, like, one of her suitors or something, she, like, drains their magic, so she hasn't found, like, the right fit, and for some reason, she's, like, a symbol of, like, she's supposed to protect all the people, like the villagers or whoever they are, and her parents like gave her up to the temple, and so she's not supposed to like admit that she, like she doesn't have a mom or a dad anymore, but her brother's been visiting and he's like, nope, you're still my sister. He's like, that's mom and dad's thing, like I'm still here to see you. So that's as far as I've got, but let's see what the synopsis on Amazon says. 3 weddings, 3 funerals. Alicia's gift from the gods is supposed to magnify a partner's magic, not kill every suitor she touches. Now, with only 3 weeks left until a hungry swarm of demons devours everything on her island home, Alicia is running out of time to find a partner and stop the invasion. When a powerful priest convinces the faithful that killing Alicia is the island's only hope, her own soldiers try to assassinate her. Desperate to survive, Alicia hires Dante, a cynical outcast marked as a killer, to become her personal bodyguard. But a rebellious explodes outside the gates. Dante's dark secret may be the biggest betrayal. He holds the key to her survival and her heart, but is he the only person who can help her master her gift or destroy her once and for all? So it sounds like kind of a dark romance. It does. I'm kind of more interested in it. Like, I was having a bit of like questions in the beginning, but like I wasn't sure before I read that if I was really going to be into it, because I just listened to the first little bit as an audible on NetGalley that I have for my reviewing, and it does have a lot of Latin like back and forth where like they have a lot of Latin or Spanish, I'm not sure which one it is, they sound similar, where it like goes off and tells you things and then they have to translate it to English for us, so there is a lot of that, and I didn't mind it. It was just something that I've not had in a book before, and I was like, oh, hello to this. How to Defend Your Lair by Keith Ammann is another one that I want to read, and that is also a NetGalley book. How to Defend Your Lair, the 4th book of 4 books, the monsters know what they're doing. And I'm not quite sure, like, it looks pretty cute. I'm not quite sure what it's about, so that's one that there's not much of a description, so we're gonna have to just read that one and talk about it next week. But it does look pretty fun. It has little like monsters on it. I have 2 physical TBR books, Perfectly Arranged by Liana George and Hag of the Hill by J.T.T. Ryder. I should have already read both of these books, but life happened and now we're going to read them. I did start both of them though. So Perfectly Arranged, we will read this for you. Short on clients and money, professional organizer Nikki Mayfield is hanging up her label maker. That is, until the eccentric socialite Catherine O'Connor offers Nikki one last job. Working together, the pair discover an unusual business card among Mrs. O'Connor's family belongings that leads them on a journey to China. There, the women embark on an adventure of faith and self-discovery as they uncover secret truths and ultimately God's perfect arranged plans. This is by Liana George. Perfectly Arranged, and this was part of the Traveling Pages tour a while ago, and I'm very sorry, but like I said, better late than never. I will get it. And Hag of the Hill by J.T.T. Ryder. I have started this book, and I believe I am on chapter 5. So it is nothing is unconquerable, even our gods can die. Brennus is destined from birth to become a warrior despite his farmer's life, but when the hillmen kill his family and annihilate his clan, he swears to avenge those he loved. Brennus must survive endless hordes of invading hillsmen and magic-wielding Saeed, aided by only a band of shifty mercenaries and an ancient bronze sword. Failure means his family and clan go unavenged. Victory will bring glory to Brennus and his ancestors. Hag of the Hill is a historical fantasy novel set in 200 BC on the Isle of Skye, steeped in Celtic mythology and culture. And it says here that the author is an archaeologist and author of heroic fantasy novels. Hag of the Hill, book 1 of the Bronze Sword novel cycle duology. So there will be more to this. It was definitely giving me like 13th Warrior, Beowulf, like Braveheart kind of vibes. Like I was actually looking for the 13th Warrior on DVD when I started reading it, and I was like, I need a break and I want to watch a movie. We don't have it, but definitely giving those kinds of vibes. Definitely feeling it. Here is the synopsis for Tsunami Dolphins, because I probably will reread that book since I did not write a review and I did like it so much. And it's the same author as Apes of the Wildfire that we're talking about that doesn't come out to the 16th, but Tsunami Dolphins is out now, so we could read it and then be ready for the other. So, an epic disaster sees strangers, Meiko and Fusa, swept onto the shores of Fukushima. I might have said that wrong. Adrift from their pods and with the nearby power plant spewing nuclear poison, they strive to understand why the god of the ocean is so angry. Could it be because Meiko so rudely insulted him? And if so, do they stand any chance of evading Mishuri's next strike? Longing for calmer seas and desperate to be united with their pod, the pair journey to find the mighty Mishuri and offer an apology. But on an adventure beset by orca clans, radioactive pollution, and militarized dolphins, it's an encounter with humans that will change everything. After all, why should they fear the myth when real danger hunts them from above the waves? Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Was anybody else like a dolphin kid, or was that just my weirdness? Like, every time I was like, I want one of those little dolphin sculptures. They even make them out of sand, like they were sand pressed and maybe probably glue, who knows? And like, they had eyes and everything. Like, I had so many of those. And then one day I was like, I'm like 25 and I got all these dolphin little sculptures all over the place, like a shrine. I should probably get rid of those. But I still have a want to maybe someday see a dolphin. Does everybody else? Is that like, I think that's like a bucket list a lot of people have. Like, I don't want to skydive, but like I could meet a dolphin. That'd be pretty cool. Well, we've been visiting for a while and that was fun. I'm going to share with you a sneak peek of some other books that are on my I want to read list. It just depends like which book tours come up or if anybody requests any books to be reviewed first. But these are some of the ones that I personally would like to read. So MODOK by Ralph Helfer, and it's supposed to be like, I don't know, I thought about it the other day because I had started it earlier this summer and never finished it, but my kids and I, we were watching the like new Dumbo, the more like real life animated one, and it made me think of this, and I was like, man, I gotta go back and read that because I just got busy doing blog tours, didn't get to. And then I have, this is supposed to be like the Greek gods, and they got spicy. Like Persephone and Hades, I think, is in one of these three. You might hear my littles in the background. But this is Snowflower and the Secret Fan. I actually came across this when I was visiting the Barnes & Nobles, and it's by Lisa C. And I actually have a couple books on my shelf that I was sent or given by the same author. So, and it actually has really high reviews. I've seen it on TikTok a few times. I don't know much about it. I should know a bit more. I'm not going to read the synopsis now. I'm just giving you a sneak peek. But that is another one. So if you have read any of these books, let me know, because I always have a hard time knowing which to start. I'm like, which one do I start on? So if you've read one and you think I like it, let me know and I'll start there and we can talk about it, because that's why we're here, to talk about this stuff. Katie Roberts, the one before she's written Neon Gods, I have been reading her Wicked Villains series, and oh my goodness, Disney will never be the same for me again, not that I'm complaining. But I also have found by a different author, Liz Braswell, a twist, and they have a whole bunch. Like, this one's a whole new world. This is What If Aladdin Had Never Found the Lamp? And it's funny because the first one of Katie Roberts that I read too was the Jasmine and Jafar. It was wait, I'll have to look it up. Sorry, I don't know that, because I've been reading, like, I like them. But so it was funny because they were both, the Jasmine and Jafar, the first ones that I came across. So I do want to try these ones, and I don't know, this one actually says Disney on it, so I don't expect these to be spicy. I don't think that would happen. However, they still look fun. Retellings are usually fun. The other two, these ones I came across and was given, The Wind in the Willows and The Willows in Winter, and this is the first one. The second one, I've never read these, I've never heard of these, but people say they're really wholesome, like children's stories, and I am one for like the Brothers Grimm and like Little Nursery, like the Hansel and Gretel's. I don't love Hansel and Gretel, but things like that. So I think that little stories about frogs and moles, wasn't there one called like Mr. Toad or something? I remember like seeing the book, but I don't know if anybody ever like read it to me or if I read it, but those ones are super cute, you know, where there's like Mr. Toad and like there was a hedgehog. I could be getting two different stories mixed up, but so these ones I'm looking forward to, because sometimes we read like devastatingly emotional reads and I'm just like, I'm fried. Like I can't stop thinking about that tragic thing in this other book, but I need to read something else to like clear my brain, because I don't want to dream about that. Like, I don't mind experience it, riding the roller coaster, but like we gotta turn it off too. So we need some of that. This is one that I've been doing with my daughter, and she's in kindergarten. It's called Mommy and Me. I got it at Barnes & Nobles. So, got it at Barnes & Nobles, and it is, you ask your kid questions, and then you can like write it in here, and then you can come back, and it's supposed to like help build like a relationship between you and your kid, and kind of see like if there's things that you're not doing or that they do like to do. So one of the first questions in here, it was like, what is one of your favorite memories? And I asked her, not really expecting much, and I was kind of surprised by the answer. Like, I really was. So, special memories we have together. I'm supposed to tell her one and she tells me one. 3 fabulous things about being your mom. 3 fabulous things about having you as my mom. For each entry, write a type you like and a type you dislike. For breakfast, donuts, lunch. So both of you write what you like and don't like, so you can kind of learn about each other. And I've seen these for adults or couples or people who might get, you know, who are thinking about getting married, but I've never seen them for kids and parents, and I thought that was really fun to like connect with your kid in a fun way where they feel important too, and then you have something. I tend to be kind of like a sentimental person, so for me, like, I think that's pretty fun. And then, you know, of course, the Elf on the Shelf, and it's not that I'm going to read it, it's that I put it in my pile so I remember to either get on the Pinterest or to order an elf kit or to get myself down to a Target or a dollar store and start planning that, because this whole like, oh, we'll just fly by the seat of our pants and use things we have in the house doesn't work for me, because I'm always getting up in the morning and grabbing him tinsel and throwing him like, oh, he moved, I swear, like, don't look. I'm like chucking it to my husband like a football. Like, I don't want to do that this year. This year I'm gonna plan ahead, and this is like just my sticky note reminder. Don't forget the elf, because he cannot sit on the same shelf. They are getting too old and they know better. So, thank you guys for visiting with me. That was a lot to talk about, but it was really fun, and it was a little rocky. I'll get better, more organized. You know, it was our first time. We are late, but at least we showed up, and I appreciate you. My goal is to be here every Tuesday and have a video posted by 5 p.m. If it's not there, I swear I'm doing it. I won't leave you out. I won't forget you. I don't have any giveaways right now. I haven't really got any book mail. I've just been kind of spending the last part of the year trying not to add anything to my to be read list just because it is so long at the moment. I just kind of trying to clean up so that 2023 can be, you know, not that I say that reading the books are stressful, but like I don't like making people wait and I don't like missing dates. So definitely cleaning it up so that next year will be more organized. I know you have to write it on a calendar, like the whole, oh, I remember, I'll get it read. Like, no, you hold yourself to it. So we'll probably talk about that a little bit next week about how I plan on holding myself accountable to not missing dates, my kind of organization, how I pick my TBR, kind of where I get my books from, and we'll probably have some book mail by then because I know we have some Christmas books coming in. So thank you guys for visiting with me. Please subscribe, and I will see you guys next